Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan, and thanks for joining us for our Friday update for June the 2nd. And the long weekend in New Zealand is with us, and as you know, we've got this low pressure zone coming in for Monday. It's going to deepen over New Zealand across Sunday and Monday, with a southerly change coming in with it as well. Despite that, it's not all doom and gloom for the long weekend. So let's try and break it down for you. So yes, a lot of high pressure to our west and also out here to the Indian Ocean, tracking along sort of to the north of the country, and that's encouraging this west to southwest airflow that we've got for Friday, with a cold front moving northwards and a few thunderstorms along the western side of New Zealand overnight. Also a couple of thunderstorms this morning down around Southland. Look at these storms though down around Antarctica, at least 4 of them that you can see, probably 4 or 5. So those storms hug Antarctica at this time of the year. So you'll see a lot of them tracking along that line there to the south of New Zealand. And every now and then, like we're going to see around Sunday and Monday, that cold air escapes northwards and comes in and across the country. Now, we've got another photo sent in to us, again from Canterbury, showing once again the Northwest Arch. And as they were saying, they haven't seen a lot of the Northwest Arch so far this season. And I've got to say, next week with that low, you've got days of easterly winds coming in for places like Canterbury. Great photo. Thank you very much for sending that in. And this is the rainfall for the next 5 days coming up. Most of the country seeing rain, mostly in that sort of red-orange area, which is about 20 to sort of 50 millimetres. But further down into Canterbury, this area here could be seeing much more. You could be seeing 80 to 125 or 150 millimetres. That's enough to cause flooding and slips. So just be aware, especially around Kaikoura, but also really down the Canterbury Plains, we're seeing a fair amount of rain coming in. Lowest rainfall totals at the very top and the very south of the country. And you can drill down deeper on our websites for that. So here we are on Saturday. Saturday's not too bad across New Zealand. High pressure out in the Tasman, the one that's just left or leaving Aussie. Southwest winds, still a couple of showers though for places like Auckland, maybe in Hamilton as well, and Taranaki, and a bit of shower activity around Greymouth. Most other places, though, are dry. Any showers do look fairly isolated, and that low pressure zone pretty weak around Australia. So this Sunday, that's when the change comes through, the next change with us. And here it is, a southerly blast coming in from the Southern Ocean, high pressure parked over Tasmania, low pressure near Dunedin. That is the perfect recipe for a cold southerly. So in it comes. Snow on the mountains and ranges, and in the North Island, mild nor'westers blowing through with showers, and the further north and the further east you are, the drier it will be. So we go through to Monday, and here is that low pressure zone. It's like a wheel stuck in the mud. It's just spinning around, not moving anywhere. It's not particularly stormy. It might be a little windy at the very top and a little windy in the very south. Cold down here, that's a southeasterly coming around that high, and those lows we saw down around Antarctica. So colder airflows coming in for the South Island, and then it moves up and around into the north as well, but it's not very windy with that low pressure zone in charge. Here is the same map showing that system. So pretty windy for the South Island, southeasterly winds in a squash zone between high pressure and low pressure. So those southeasterly winds are pretty strong, but not very strong for the north to the north. But that low pressure means a bit of instability. So a few heavy downpours are in the mix. And over in Australia, mild northerlies, a couple of thunderstorms for you. And over on the western side, in comes a cold front for Perth and Fremantle. So next week, Tuesday, kind of stormy over there in the west and a little stormy over here in New Zealand. Very windy through that squash zone. Easterly winds coming through and blowing mostly from about Wairarapa down towards the very northern edge of Otago, and the rain will be heavy between places like Wairarapa and northern parts of Canterbury. That's why we're seeing that rain sort of accumulate over the days ahead. And isolated downpours because of that lower air pressure. And then we move through next week, and low pressure to the north of New Zealand is still there. Easterlies driving in rain now for Hawke's Bay. But overall, Hawke's Bay, I don't think you're going to get a huge amount, but it's worth keeping an eye on just in case it changes. But I think the way it's set up, a bit of rain, but not necessarily too problematic for you. And look at this, stormy kind of weather over in Australia. And our last map shows all of this is basically low pressure, autumn weather coming through with northerlies and westerlies for you. And on the New Zealand side, it's the opposite. We've still got the southeasterly winds blowing. So they dominate next week. So if you live in western areas, apart from some wet weather coming in this weekend, by the time we go into next week, more of that cloud and rain will be along the eastern side of New Zealand. And as we said in our Climate Watch video, we're heading towards El Nino. That means more westerlies, but we're still very much in a neutral and chaotic weather pattern. It means anything can happen. We're not in first gear or reverse, and so we're kind of stalled. And when you have low pressure zones like that, that encourages days of similar weather. That's all from me. Have a great long weekend. We'll see you again on Tuesday.